Good evening, everyone. Thought I would give everyone an update before it got too late on our severe weather potential tonight. It is not great, thankfully, but as you can see, the radar is quite active up in southern Oklahoma, and now we're starting to see some more development in west northwest of us. So I want to talk about that. I want to talk about what we can expect overnight and into the weekend. So to start off with, the only severe weather threat we have right now is this short term time period between now and probably 1 a.m., 2 a.m., something like that. And thankfully, the threat is not that great, but it's not totally out of the realm of possibility. So I want to talk about that, kind of give you an idea of what you can expect between now and, like I said, 2 a.m., 3 a.m. And for those of y'all who wanted to get colder, your wish will be granted because once this cold front moves through again in that 2 a.m. to 3 a.m. time frame, then it will be much colder tomorrow. Now, it won't be pretty. It'll be cloudy and kind of dreary, but it will definitely be colder. So if that's what you're wanting, you're going to get your wish. All right, so let's focus more in on the radar here. So as you can see, actually in the last couple of frames, if I can go the right direction here. Let's zoom in. So we got a couple of showers before we get up into the main stuff. A couple of showers trying to pop up here. Again, just to give you a reference, the beautiful city of Saxe. This is Farmersville, Princeton, east of McKinney, seeing some showers trying to pop up. Nothing of consequence, but they have kind of popped up here in the last 15 to 20 minutes. Not really expecting anything to get too crazy, but it's something that we definitely want to watch. And again, as I talked about in my preview video earlier in the evening, we were seeing that lift in the atmosphere really start to get going. So that's going to just increase more and more as we go through the evening and into the overnight hours. All right, so let's go back and look at the bigger picture. And just the last radar return here before we go too far out. See a little cell trying to pop up right there. So again, the atmosphere is having more and more lift to it as the evening goes on. So let's zoom out here even more. Okay. So these storms up in Oklahoma have been severe off and on during the evening hours. Nothing too bad, but it's just something that it hasn't been anything widespread from a severe weather standpoint. And right now there are no severe thunderstorm warnings up in Oklahoma. The boxes you see are special weather statements, so they're just barely on the cusp of being sub-severe, as we say, but they're not severe now. Like I said, that has come and gone through the night. I think you're going to see that. I think you're going to see cells kind of pulse up and down severe wise. And so, but again, I don't think it's going to be a widespread thing by any stretch of the imagination. So don't worry about that. Ashley, oh, you're welcome. Every time your kids run in a 3K or any kind of running, you always bring the weather with you, Ashley. So you don't have the greatest luck there. So, but actually, tomorrow morning, if they're going to run, it'll be cold and probably rainy. So I think that I don't think you have to worry about severe weather by any means. But yeah, it'll definitely be cold. Okay. So like I said, there's no current severe thunderstorm warnings for this activity up in Oklahoma and northwest Texas. But as you can see, the cold front is somewhere along this line. Now, you may look at that and say, hey, why would the thunderstorms be behind the front instead of ahead of the front? Well, that's for a couple reasons in this case. Number one is this front starting to accelerate, and that's pretty typical at night. Fronts tend to speed up at night as opposed to during the day because the heating tends to slow them down, and at night the lack of heating tends to let the momentum of the front speed up a little bit. So the reason some of these thunderstorms aren't severe anymore is because the front is what we call is undercutting the thunderstorms. Are kind of cutting off the warm, humid air from their updrafts, and so that tends to weaken them. But the hail threat, I should say, you kind of gave it away there. So those type thunderstorms become elevated above the frontal zone, if you will, and they can produce hail. So now, typically, they're not anything that's big, but it's something we'll have to watch overnight. But that will the undercutting of the thunderstorms from the front undercutting the thunderstorms will definitely help keep the overall severe weather threat down. That's why we don't have any watches at the moment. I don't think that we will have. I don't think we'll have a watch really at all tonight. Now, it could change if things kind of pop a little bit more than we think. But right now, there's no watches or anything in effect. So, like I said, so we'll put this in motion and kind of give you an idea of what's going on. So, as you can see, the general motion of these storms are to the northeast. So, they're not really headed in our direction. But over time, that will change. And I'm going to tell you why that's going to change. Okay, so I'm going to broaden this out just a little bit and kind of give you a better idea of what's going on from a weather map standpoint. So like I said, if you can picture this, the cold front's somewhere right here, moving in our direction. So there's much colder air. It's hard to spell with your mouse. Back here. Now there's a low pressure system that's already formed in southwest Oklahoma, and it's going to be moving in this direction. So that's where a lot of the energy for this system is going to go with it. Now that's what you need. This instability, that's what you need a lot of times for this widespread severe weather. So that's why we're not going to see a lot of that. But if you remember science class or weather class, the air rotates or spins counterclockwise around a low pressure system. So the air in upper levels is spinning or moving like this. So that's why yesterday this same front was down here, and then it moved back to the north because the air was pushing it back to the north. But now this low pressure system is going to move this way. That's going to make the predominant wind flow this way, and thus it's going to push this front through, and then of course the line of storms will gradually head this way. Well, that's a terrible arrow. All right, so it gets pretty crowded, so I'm going to take all that off. So that's kind of what we can expect in the big scheme of things during the overnight hours. All right, so let's look at the satellite picture because I want to show you what's going on there. Okay, so at night, we don't have a visible satellite, obviously, because the sun's not out. So we do an infrared satellite, and so again, in an infrared takes the temperature of the atmosphere and gives it different color codes. Now this is a black and white infrared, but the brighter colors are in white. In this case, are the colder cloud tops, and now of course I'll tell you thunderstorms that build up into the atmosphere, get up into the colder parts of the atmosphere. Of course, they become colder and the clouds become whiter in this satellite presentation. So you can kind of tell where the bigger thunderstorms are, and that's all in Oklahoma. Now, like I said, you can kind of start to see a little bit in these last couple of frames that it's slowly starting to sink southeast, very slowly. So, but the mean motion of the individual thunderstorms is to the northeast. So that's going to be a trend that's going to continue probably at least through midnight. And then after midnight, you're going to see these storms start to sink southeast toward us. So that kind of gives you a bigger picture of the clouds and what you see there. So as you can see, you don't see any bright white clouds anywhere around the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. So that will tell you that obviously there's no big thunderstorms in our area. And, that's always a good thing. All right, so I want to give you an idea. Let's actually, I want to give you an idea of what the atmosphere is like at the surface, and because it's very un-December-like. And so if I can get this to load. Okay, so I'm just going to show you what's going on at my house at the moment. This, of course, is the data that's recording from my weather station. So it's 10:05 on December 17th. And the temperature out, and I'm going to look at my real weather monitor. Okay. 70 degrees. And if you round up, it's 71 degrees. 10:05 at December 17th. Yes, that's not normal. So we do have a lot of fuel for storms overnight. The dew point is 64. Again, very un-December-like. So the warm temperatures for December, the high humidity level measured by the dew point. So we have plenty of fuel for thunderstorms overnight. Now, like I said, so should we really be worried about anything? Not really. There is something to think about, and there's something to keep in the back of your mind. But as a big overall threat, it's not terrible. So that's definitely good news. And I am going to switch over here to my weather update central, if you will, and kind of the people I follow. This is based on Twitter. And I'm going to refresh this page here real quick, but I don't see anything. There's certainly no current warnings out because they would pop up on these feeds I have. And of course, it's loading really slow, but that's okay because I have a lot of things going on. Bandwidth why is that the moment? All right, so it's gonna reload here in a second. I don't expect anything to be any big changes from what we saw before. Yeah, this is probably not a good idea. All right, so I'm just, yeah, okay, so now, even before those graphics load, I can see that there's not going to be any big changes, so we'll get out of that. All right, so let's go to the Storm Prediction Center. So let's see what they say, because again, they do an excellent job of kind of having a bigger picture of, what's going to happen weather-wise, severe storm-wise, I should say, and don't really see a lot of changes there. I did want to show you, and it's still loading, so we'll give it a second here. There we go. All right, so I wanted to show you a more detailed, what they call a convective outlook, but it's really a severe weather outlook for the layman. So as you can see, the slight risk areas all in Oklahoma. And again, that's mainly for wind and hail. But again, as you remember, we have the three categories. We have tornado threat, the damaging wind threat, and the hail threat. So if you look at tornado, 2% chance. That does not, if we pop the cities on here real quick, Dallas-Fort Worth not including that. And I think overall the probabilities of seeing a tornado are pretty doggone small. The damaging wind threat, again, the 15% area is in southeast Oklahoma, 5% chance. And again, if these storms get going just a tad, then the wind threat would be greater for us. And then the hail threat, same thing. Most of the hail threat is in Oklahoma. However, we do have a 5% chance of seeing severe hail, which again is 1 inch in diameter or greater. But I just don't see that being a widespread thing at all. Not saying that somebody couldn't see it if the storms really start to pop, but I just don't see it as a big thing. All right. So with that, let's go back to the radar here, and we will. Let's zoom in a little bit. Okay, so that's good because even the special weather statements are gone. So that's definitely good. This cell is obviously, okay, it's going to update some more. So this cell is obviously pretty healthy. And just again, for reference, this is in Oklahoma. So if you just happen to be tuning in, this is not Dallas-Fort Worth, this is Oklahoma. Not a severe cell, but a lot of lightning. You can see probably very heavy rain. And if we put this in motion, again, east-northeast motion. It had some hail, and of course, had some hail in earlier. And these are hail contours, so as you can see, not anything widespread, not anything really big, but these storms are definitely in Oklahoma. In Oklahoma, they've definitely put down some hail, but nothing big at all. And just for grins, we'll split the screen here and put the velocity on there, and there's nothing to that. So the tornado threat is not really going to be an issue. Probably not even for Oklahoma. All right, so let's get a little closer to Dallas-Fort Worth and tell you what we got. All right, so we will be a little closer here, and even the cell that had a little bit of a downpour is kind of weakening. So we don't have a lot of the big lift in our area yet, but it's coming. Doesn't mean it's going to be severe, but it's coming. So if we put this in motion again, the main storm motion northeast, probably the biggest storm that's closest to Dallas-Fort Worth is way up in Henrietta, so far northwest North Texas. So, and it's not even moving in our direction. Right now it's going into southeastern Oklahoma or southern Oklahoma. And then we do have some storms west of Graham, near Olney, things like that. And I will say too is one thing that I would start to wrap this up with is that you will start to see, if I can get the right. You will start to see some development out this way. And even though the mean motion is here, you're definitely going to see it gradually come this way and then ultimately come this way. So the bottom line is this: between now, other than a spotty shower here and there. I wouldn't expect much, but really after midnight, but at this rate, probably 1 a.m., 2 a.m. Is when we would start to see some activity. I don't think it'll be severe. It certainly won't be widespread severe, but if the storms start to outrace the front just a little bit more than they are now, then we could see a couple storms rooted in the unstable layer right at the surface, and that would cause a problem. Not a big problem, but that would cause a problem. Wind gust, maybe some hail, maybe hail, maybe period. But if there was hail, there's a chance that it would be less than 1 inch. 1 inch again is the severe criteria cutoff. Yeah, Barbara. Hey. Well, you know what to do, Barbara, because Barbara has a trick that keeps the hell away from us. So I trust her to make the right choice. But yeah, I can't get on here and say that there's no possibility of hail, because there is a possibility, but the possibility is quite small. So, but it is what it is. Okay, so again, the bottom line is this: this is not a situation to where you have to be overly concerned. If you're like me, I am so concerned that I'm going to bed at my normal bedtime a little bit later on Friday. But because again, it's just something that this is not a classic, even secondary severe weather event. It's just not. But having said that, could a stronger storm pose a problem when it moves through after midnight? Yes. But I think what you will see for sure, not everybody, but what you will see for sure is, some lightning, thunder, heavy rain, maybe gusty winds that aren't severe. Not everybody will see that, but, a good chunk of us probably will, especially when that line starts to fill in. And again, I think what you want to watch for on your radar apps that you probably have on your phone is you want to watch for development out this way, because when that gets a little bit more established, then that's when we'll have a better idea what the timing of the storms that move through Dallas-Fort Worth. So after 2 a.m., 3 a.m., that's going to be the end of that. However, we'll have gusty north winds. It'll be very cool, especially compared to today. You're probably talking about a 30-degree temperature difference. And it will feel like winter tomorrow, I promise. So again, those of you who are wanting wanting cooler weather, you will definitely get it. I would dare say even December-like weather, you will get that tomorrow and probably into Sunday. And then if you listen to my podcast earlier today, we will gradually warm up. And unfortunately, right now, it looks like if you want a cold Christmas, you will probably not get that. Not going to be 80, 85, but it's not going to be 35 either. So just to give you a little free preview of Christmas there. Okay, I think I'm going to wrap it up. I'll keep watching it like I always do, and I appreciate everybody tuning in tonight and watching my broadcast here. Thankfully, I always want to keep everybody informed during potential severe weather, even on the low end events. But thankfully, it's not coming to fruition from a widespread severe weather threat. Not that we thought that anyway, but just Mother Nature can throw you some curveballs every now and then. But if that were to change, and it certainly could, then I will hop back on and let you know what's going on. If that needs to be the case, hopefully it won't be though. All right, so with that, I'll wrap it up. As always, I'm watching the weather so you don't have to. Hope everyone has a great rest of your evening, what's left of it. Hope everyone has a wonderful weekend. And not that I plan on there being any severe weather between now and then. If I don't pop on for some other reason, then I hope everyone has a very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year and all that good stuff. And, the new year brings a new year to the calendar. And, of course, that gets us that much closer to severe weather season in 2022. And unfortunately, we'll probably have some more fun talking then. But we'll talk way before that, I promise. Because if there's any winter weather that needs to be talked about, then I'll definitely hop on for that too. Although don't worry, that's not going to be any time in the next couple of weeks for sure. So, okay, like I said, as always, I'm watching weather so you don't have to. Hope everyone has a great evening, and we will talk to you soon.